All right, y'all, so this video we're going to try to get the nitro crawler started. We're going to install the transmission and everything and hook all the servos up, hopefully get the steering hooked up as well. It's not going to be a finished product by any means, but hopefully we will get a runner. It's not going to be the most detailed video ever. It's mainly going to be a voiced over because it takes a lot of time and effort and energy and precision trying to sit there and tweak stuff and make stuff work, come up with proper mounts and stuff like that. So I'm going to voice over everything and kind of explain everything I've done. All right, so the first thing we're going to be doing is getting this transmission mounted. You can see I already cut out part of the mounts, just kind of roughly cut them out so I can place them in there. And here's after cutting them a little bit more. I'm drilling the holes now on the sides so that way I can get them mounted into the frame. And I'm drilling another hole in the frame through this piece of steel so that way I can run a bolt through and it can hold everything together. And that actually came out pretty decent. Looks kind of legit. It's not perfect, but I'll make it better if it turns out good. All right, so we got the engine and transmission installed. I put this in there just to get the gear mesh right. It seems to do pretty good. I don't know why this pixelated thing. So the transfer case that I bought to go right here, so that way we can have 2-speed auto with reverse and high and low. Well, you know, everything right now seems to go together as planned, but this transfer case, I was toying around with the idea of making it select before drive or high and low, and I think high and low would be better on something like this. How I was going to make it select before drive was that I was going to take out the low range gear set and just keep the high range gear set because it's close to 1-to-1, so you can engage it, the neutral, engage it, and then have full drive, and this drive shaft be straight through. But anyway, get back on topic, that would go down in there like that. Originally I was going to plan, but there's just no room to really mount it, and I've tried moving these out and it just, you know, the suspension's all weird and crap and it doesn't want to go right. And there's no way really I can make a mount in there that's going to work great and go around that brake rotor and all that. And we're running out of space, you know, it's just getting really close towards the back right there. So unfortunately, it doesn't really look like I'm going to be using this in this build. If I had like a 1/8 scale chassis, something a little bit bigger, and where the suspension geometry wasn't kind of like this, where the triangulated arms were, I could probably make it work pretty good. I'm gonna put all the other lot around there, then hook up my drive shaft going to there, and figure out a front drive shaft going to there. The shaft coming out of here is a little bit bigger than the shaft on there, so I can't just screw this one right back on there, and I gotta find some pins to make that brake rotor work. But on the T-Max transmission here, the output shaft is the same size as the differential, so everything's gonna be a different size. But I got the Revo drive shaft coming. I'm gonna try to custom attach it to this and all that. You'll see in a little bit, and then make a front drive shaft. Hopefully I can make that one selectable so I can have selectable forward drive still. But what I was saying with the Revo 3.3 is everybody knows that these have forward and reverse, but I want to try to make this thing have neutral, and it's very hard because there's, you know, forward and reverse, very small amount of room right there to work with. But right there, if you get it perfect, you do have neutral. So I'm either gonna grind off a little bit on the shifting dogs on each side, so that way there's a little bit more room right here, or just kind of fine tweak it somehow. But anyway, I'll figure out some way on how to make this thing have neutral, because I don't know why Traxxas made everything so teeny tiny and small and little bit. I guess they don't want people over revving those 2-stroke engines, but if you have common sense, you wouldn't do that, or you wouldn't even drive a nitro car to begin with. But yeah, we'll figure out something with that. You know, if we look underneath of it, you know, everything's pretty good. That drive shaft, a little bit off center, but it'll go in there, and then obviously the rear drive shaft's gonna bolt up and everything. Still trying to figure out something with the steering on the thing, because, you know, I had to remove the servo to put the motor there, obviously, because I wanted it scale and realistic. I didn't want to put the motor in the center and all that, because I know some people do that and it just doesn't look realistic whatsoever. So the whole point of this is making it scale, and that's what I want to do. I'm probably going to cut out a piece of steel that bolts right here with two little tangs coming out of it, and then that's going to bolt right there. Still going to have plenty of clearance because the suspension's actually all the way down, so we'll have more clearance if it's all the way up like this. So, and I think that's going to work really well. It's not mounted to the axle where it doesn't look realistic. Under the body, it's going to be out of the way, pretty low down. You can't really see it, and it also clears the fan. Everything's centered, lined up. It's going to look pretty dang realistic. And the 2-speed, it's kind of like the old 2-speed Power Glide transmissions, if you guys know what that is. And here you can see I am now cutting out the bracket to make the steering out of. Here it is all done after I drilled all the holes and everything. And as you can see, it's actually bolting right up, and it's pretty solidly mounted. It's not perfect, but it'll be fine. And here you can see I cut out part of the body mount so that way I can put the muffler back on. All right, so got the battery plugged in. First time this thing's gonna spin over. All right, so everything seems to be working pretty decently. I'm just gonna kind of temporarily tie everything together, temporarily put the fuel lines on. I'll make it better once I know it all works. All right, so now we're gonna be starting this thing up. This engine hadn't ran in 5 years. So we got 33% nitro. I don't have a fuel bottle with me at the moment. Pour it in there like that. I also don't have the glow starter hooked up because the ground cable isn't long enough, and people say if you ground it down here, it won't work. So I got to figure out some way of putting it right here. So for right now, we're going to use the glow starter. We're just going to crank it up. I can't drive it because I don't have the drive shaft and the throttle and brake servo and all that stuff hooked up yet. All right, so that actually turned out really well. The engine ran perfect with a little bit of tuning. The transmission, gears and everything, spinning fine, shifting fine. It's probably not gonna rev high enough to go into second gear, but yeah. Once I get this drive shaft in, hook up this throttle servo, I should say. I'm so used to working on go-karts and four-wheelers. Hook up my receiver, and then we will actually have a good runner. All right, so got everything all plugged in now. Got the battery box out of the T-Max mounted to the back. See what happens. Turn this. All right, so throttle and brake. Servo needs to be reversed. Let's see if the steering works good. Okay, need to recenter that, but it is working. Let's try the reverse. That obviously needs work, so I'm gonna do all that and put you back on. And here you can see I got the drive shaft in, but unfortunately it's too short, so I kind of cut and modified, put two together, and we got a functioning rear drive shaft. All right, first drive. All right, everything's working. This stupid button wants to keep sticking for some reason. This button's so stupid. Like, why does it want to stick? Well, it ain't fast, but it is moving. All right, let's try the reverse. All right, that's working. I'm gonna make it where we'll have neutral. All right, so biggest thing I'm gonna do is adjust the second gear clutch. Let's try that first. Nope. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video right here. You guys saw it move. The transmission, for some reason, it's locked up. I guess because I turned that second gear screw out a little too much, and maybe it's binding on the dog where it engages second gears, what I'm guessing. It just never shift, but I've seen other people with these motors and it shifted once you turn it a little bit, but mine didn't for some reason. Of course, it's always gonna be my luck. So I'm gonna take the transmission part, probably take part of that little spring out in the second gear thing, so that way it'll engage sooner, hopefully, is what I'm thinking. I know this isn't the most detailed video ever. I mean, this takes a lot of trial and error and, you know, pieces and parts, and a lot of time sitting down and thinking, trying to come up with all this stuff. So hopefully the video came out pretty good. We're gonna get the second gear working in this thing. I don't know why that stupid starter system wants to keep sticking with that button. It just, I don't know why, but we'll figure out something with that. We'll make it better. I'm just probably gonna get a whole new one because the glow thing's messed up and everything. So yeah, we'll do that. The throttle and brake servo work well. Figure out something with this drive shaft, make it full drive, all that sort of stuff. Body and all that stuff will be in another video as well. So I hope you liked it. You guys know what to do. Thumbs down twice. If you didn't like the video, click all the buttons and stuff how the YouTubers say to click. And you guys will see me in another one.